Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Penguin Nonsense. I am your host, Edith, and it is a new year, you guys. I kept telling you how I was excited for Christmas and stuff, and kept reminding y'all like every week. So I'm glad that it's over, but it's also kind of sad because I had to wait a whole another year for Christmas to come. So as you can see, it's like my favorite holiday. But other than that, I'm excited for a new year. I'm excited for whatever this year has in hold. We know everything is ups and downs, but at the end of the day, we push through it and we get through the day, That's all we can do. Leave it in God's hands and, pursue what we can and let it be what it may, you know? So I'm excited for this. And like anything else, I'm glad you are here in the new year. And I hope we can build another good year for us. Next thing you know, will be a 1 year anniversary. And wow, I hope it has been a whole ride. So without further ado, let's get on with today's story of the first story of today. Alrighty. So this story was followed after I saw this clip of the airplane that had lost like the little, I guess it's like window compartment door thing. I'm not really sure how to call it. It was like a little trim of the plane. I'm not sure what happened, but it just like bloop, like flew out. And I know it's not a laughing matter, but it's just like crazy to think about it. You know what I mean? So I found an article about it, obviously, because I thought this was crazy news. I was like, dang. So it goes. Flights cancel as regulator grounds Boeing 737 MAX 9s over a blowout. And I think that's just like the type of plane it is and that stuff. So it goes. The U.S. aviation regulator said 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9s must be granted for the checks after part of an Alaskan airline plane's fuselage fell off on Friday. Alaska said flight disruptions are expected to last until next week. United States Airlines, just United Airlines, not United States, sorry, has grounded 79 planes. Disruptions are likely to primarily affect flights in the U.S. The required inspections would take around 4 to 8 hours per aircraft, it said. And the EASA said it believes no European airlines operate MAX 9s with the configuration covered by the FAA order. One of the world's largest intercontinental airports, London Heathrow, said that there was no impact on the flights. It goes on to say, Alaska said it canceled 160 flights on Saturday, affecting about 23,000 passengers. And United Airlines has grounded about all of 79 of its MAX 9 planes. And it says, other airlines which also fly the planes have temporarily taken them out of service. Boeing said it welcomed the FAA decisions, adding its teams for its close contact with the regulator. So, thankfully, they're taking all of these down. They're not taking them down like that, but I never said it that way. It just sounded like they would shoot them down. No, so they're grounding all of them. They're doing these like inspections on them and making sure that these parts that they order for these planes are like correct and they're on well, that kind of stuff. And so it's really crazy to think that this happened, to be honest. It says during Friday's incident, Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 from Portland, Oregon to Ontario, California reached 16,000 feet. when it began an emergency descent, according to the flight tracking data. Passengers on board said a large section of the plane's outer shell fell off to the ground shortly after takeoff. Images sent to the news outlets show the night sky and light Portland visible through the gap, in the fuselage with isolation material and other debris all seen. One passenger said was as wide as a refrigerator door, while others said a child's shirt ripped off in the wind as the plane made its emergency landing. The plane carrying 177 passengers and crew landed safely back in Portland. Alaska says several passengers were injured, but not seriously. So the CEO, Ben, says, "My heart goes out to those who were on this flight. I am so sorry for what you experienced." And it says, "I am also grateful for the response of our pilots and flight attendants." And Alaska later said that as of Saturday afternoon, it has canceled 160 flights, which I kind of already told you on that. And the airline said on Saturday that 18 of its 9 planes, about a quarter, had received an in-depth inspections as part of heavy maintenance checks and will return to service, but following the FAA's orders, these have since been pulled from service. So there looks like they're doing everything they can for this to like go as best as possible as can. It looks like thankfully nobody got hurt. I'll say nobody got seriously hurt, because he did say that there was a few injuries, but nothing like serious, nothing to where they expected like any deaths or that kind of stuff, or like people critically injured in the hospital and that kind of stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if it was this article in specific or another article that I read, that thankfully there was nobody sitting next to that like seat where the thing flew off. Because I can only imagine, because like I was telling Jose, I was like, can you imagine like being up there, and like I know for takeoff, like you usually get to wear like your seatbelt and you have to wear your seatbelt, but like usually while you're up there, sometimes it's like optional to have your seatbelt on type of thing. Or I don't know, I've never really been on an airplane besides when I was like 6, so it's been a long time. But can you imagine having your seatbelt because you think everything is fine, and all of a sudden this thing flows out and then bloop, there you go. So like it's so scary to think about it. But I'm so glad that nobody was injured, nobody got taken out this plane, and thankfully, or at least serious. I keep saying not injured, but I mean seriously injured. So I'm kind of glad for that. I'm glad that this could have been so much worse. This could have been a total like massacre. Like it could have been so much worse, but it wasn't, and we're so glad for that. I hope these passengers never had to experience something like this, and I hope that this didn't ruin the planes for them. But it's definitely a new fear unlocked for sure. So, well, that goes to the downside to that. But I hope everybody gets better and gets through their trauma, because this is trauma. Like, the now it's in your head and you're like, I don't know if I can go on the plane again, but I hope they get through it, and our best of prayers to them. And so we'll go on to our next story of the day. Well, before we go on to our next story, let me know in the comments if y'all think this was really crazy, if y'all think it was the like airline's fault or like security measures fault, that kind of stuff. Like, who do y'all think had more fault in this, and what should have been done to prevent this from happening, type of things. So I definitely do think that like security has something to do with this. Like, well, like it's not like security like airport security, but like the people who are in charge of checking these planes. Like, there has to be some quality people like over there, you know, making sure everything is right or that kind of stuff. I don't know much about planes or how they work, but I know like company wise, there's always a quality inspector to make sure nothing is wrong with what is being put out. So like there should have been somebody to check this, but I don't know. Maybe to them it looks just fine, but this was scary. So let me know what you guys think, and we'll go on to our next story of today. which is, like always, from Reddit. Um, and like always, from the Am I the Asshole forum. So this one was a little bit different. Usually we get like an asshole or not asshole, but this one was given a different badge. So I'll let y'all be the judge of it. So it was on the Am I the Asshole forum from user Endolka, I think is how you pronounce that. Endolka, but I want to say it's Endolka 81, and it was posted 21 hours ago. And the title of it goes, Am I the a-hole for not attending my sister-in-law's wedding because she is identically copying my wedding? So the story goes, I told my in-laws I am not attending my sister-in-law's wedding because she has decided to copy my wedding. My husband and I live in Michigan, USA. 5 years ago, we 5 years ago chose to have a destination wedding in the Outer Banks, North Carolina. We invited our closest friends and family for a full week of fun to include the ceremony. We spent a year selecting the venue nationally, flying down, meeting the vendors, and selecting the perfect beachfront to the reception and ceremony. Yesterday, I got a text message was sent from my sister-in-law, who also lives in Michigan, in a group chat to the entire family announcing that she was now having her own destination wedding in the same state, on the same beach, and at the same house, using the same vendors, taking the same photos, and the same poses as me as my husband. This was not discussed with my husband and I ahead of time. My husband and I told this family that by copying our wedding, they are overriding our memories made there, and that really bothers us. We even found another house for her to book, but she refuses to change her venue. My heart is broken, and today we told them we would not be attending. My father-in-law called me this morning and said that his daughter has the right to choose where she wants to get married, and that copying another person's wedding was a compliment and not a big deal. I need to know, am I the a-hole? Oof. I don't know if she's the a-hole exactly, because like I feel like weddings are weddings, and I feel like there's never really truly gonna be a uniquely celebrated ceremony. I feel like you can always have like a mix of things, but you're always going to take something from somebody else, you know what I mean? Or from somewhere that you saw or that kind of stuff, and you're like, oh, I want to incorporate it to my wedding. Yes, maybe it's unique, like it's just now happening, for y'all mixing all of these ideas together, but I feel like it all came from somebody else's wedding, and whether it's Pinterest or whatever, like it all eventually came down here. So like I feel like there's no true, like, that's specifically your original idea. But I'm sure there's a few cases where it could possibly be. So I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little torn because I want to say that she is the a-hole for like caring so much whether this person goes and has the wedding with everything just exactly the same. Like, I get it can be annoying because you're like, that son of a gun. Because I went through a moment to where, like, I felt the same way about certain people when we were getting married. And so I was like, really? Right before ours type of thing. But, I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, I think, like, if people want to do what they want to do, like, you shouldn't feel some type of way. Like, I think, like, I finally came to a conclusion where I was like, people will do what they want to do. And if they felt like, thanks to us, they want to make the same decisions, then hey, by all means, go for it. Like, enjoy it. I'm glad you loved our idea so much that you want to do it yourself. And so I feel like that's what she should be looking at it, like, not like kind of agreeing with the father-in-law. Like, she should be kind of more like, oh, I'm so glad you thought everything of our wedding was so great that you want to have the exact same things. I mean, to go to the extent to have everything the same is a little extra. Like, usually people would be like, oh, I'm gonna do it like maybe in this area, but we're gonna have it here or there, or like the decoration is gonna be different, or the vendors are gonna be different, that kind of stuff. Like, something always changes, but to have the exact same wedding, that's where I'm like, that's where I'm torn, because like, I would understand if she was trying to take a few things from it, but she's trying to take the whole thing. And I'm not saying she's exactly like overwriting her memories, because she can take those memories away from you. You did it first. She's just a copycat, but at the end of the day, you did it first. So I really don't think why she should feel like she's overwriting these memories. But I think it's really like a it's a two-sided thing. And if y'all are wondering if it has been given like a certain badge of the a-hole, not the a-hole type of thing, well, it was given the everyone sucks badge. Because everybody truly does. Like, the sister-in-law for doing something so specifically tedious to copying everything down to the T line of that wedding. Yes, it's bad, but it's also bad for the lady to be so focused and not go to this wedding just because it's the exact same wedding she had. I feel like it's a fight that really doesn't need to be fought. But I mean, if she really feels that strongly about her special day, then, you know, she feels that strongly, because I feel like, you know, that's not going to be the only wedding had at that spot. You know, that's not going to be the first time they pick out these, like, the same vendors. Like, so much to it. Like, somebody else has done it some way or another. And it brings me back to that point. It's like, somebody else has done it. So just because it's your sister-in-law, I feel like, yes, it's going to be more in your face or, like, around you. But at the end of the day, it's on her. Like, people are gonna be like, hey, doesn't this look familiar? And she's gonna be like, oh, she just wants to be like her. So, like, so at the end of the day, you're fine. So, like, I don't know why she's so worried about it, but I guess people are just gonna think the sister-in-law is just trying to copy her, and, like, you know, it's not gonna go well. Or, like, seem well, in my opinion. So I feel like at the end of the day, you should be okay with what's happening, you know? Like I said, pick your battles type of thing. My cup of tea is, I would just let her have the wedding. If she really wants to copy me, let her do it. And I would still go to a wedding, enjoy some fun time, go out, have some fun, and call it a day. And just be, like, happy with my husband there, and be like, oh, you remember who we sat here? That kind of stuff. Like, getting to remember the memories all over again. Like, heck yeah. I'm fine with it. So, I don't know. That's my two takes on it. I think it's, you either see a glass half full or half empty. So, we'll see how that goes. I pray the best for them. So, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think she was a-hole, not the a-hole? Do you think something could have been totally avoided? I think we all do. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Alright. So, on to our last story of the week. And this one, I love bringing stories that end in a happy ending, because the internet did its thing. I love when the internet does its thing. I think it's such a powerful weapon. It can be used for the good and it can be used for the bad, and just as much as it's used for the bad, sometimes it's been used for the good, and that's when I love it. So here's one that goes, titled, "A Former Wild Child searched for the foster mom who changed her life 40 years ago, and found her. So the thing is, the article goes, Easy. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name, but I think it's Gilchrist. So we're just going to call her Easy. Known as Mama Easy, to many children she fostered, let out a gasp when she learned that Hannah Smith is looking for her. It's been more than 4 decades since Gilchrist last saw Smith, but she remembers her vividly. Back then, Smith went by her middle name, Marie. Marie had the most gorgeous red hair. Gilchrist told Today.com over the phone, I never stopped thinking about her. She's been searching for me? ? On December 13th, Smith shared a tribute to Gilchrist on social media in hopes that someone might have information on her whereabouts. And it goes, quote, I was 12 years old when my mother lost the ability to parent me safely. I was taken from her and put into a huge, scary children's shelter. It took a long time, but they finally found someone who would take in a deeply troubled, rather wild child like me. Smith began to post on X, formerly known as Twitter, while reflecting on her time as Gilchrist's house in Stockton, California. Smith described herself as a hooligan and a wild, ignorant white child. I wasn't all that nice to her. I stole from her. I ran up her phone bill, calling my boyfriend. Smith wrote, I eventually ran away and was put back into the shelter and never saw her again. I'm sure I broke her heart. Quote, and the foundation of everything I know about grace, about dignity, about fashion, makeup, hair care, I still use a pick, elegance, excellence, self-care, patience, love, goodness, generosity, and fairness in the face of pain came from my mama, Essie. Smith continued. Smith, who is now a trauma therapist in the state of Washington, went on to know that she had tried to find Gilchrist in the past without any luck. Gilchrist got married and changed her last name, which is perhaps why Smith was probably having trouble tracking her down. Quote, Mama Easy, if you're still with us or peering through the windows of heaven, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, Smith concluded. I heard you. I saw you. You made a difference more than you'll ever know. During a phone call with Today.com on December 14, less than 24 hours after her tweet went viral, Smith said she's shaking with happiness. Did you see someone found her? Smith says, Mama Easy is still living in Stockton. She's alive. Have you seen the picture? She is so beautiful. Smith is excited to talk about Gilchrist, who was a bright spot in the dark childhood. She recalls dancing with her foster sisters to Michael Jackson's 1983 Thriller video in Gilchrist's elegant all-white living room. At dinner, everyone gathered around the table and shared about their day. It felt like I was in a family. I knew I was safe and secure, and I knew nothing bad was going to happen to me. Smith says, when I got sick in the middle of the night, Mama Easy brought me to the hospital and sat with me. She showed me that there was kindness in the world. Smith adds quietly, I wouldn't be here where I am today without her. God is good, Gilchrist says when she learns that Smith is happily married and licensed therapist. Gilchrist, who is now in her 70s, fostered children of all ages for nearly 30 years. All left an indelible mark in the hearts, she said, and she left a lasting impact on them. Quote, I heard from many of the kids over the years, Gilchrist says, what I try to do is to give them confidence and teach them coping skills. I tell them you're smart and you're going to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can have a good life, end quote. And on December 25th, Smith shared a happy update on X. Quote, good morning, lovelies. 45 minutes with Easy on the phone last night was amazing. So much I forgot, she wrote. I felt like I've been pacing, wondering. I feel my soul stirring again. I know my story helps people. I feel inspired, infused. I'm here for it. Good things are coming. ain't that great? And so when I saw that story, it touched my heart because I was like, um, the fact that we have a system in which having a child put into foster care can be so easily done, but at the same time so hard to do. And I've seen people get taken for like the craziest of reasons, but at the same time I've seen people get taken for the right reasons. And at the same time there's people who I've seen that could use a different life, and yet the government doesn't bat an eye. So I think the foster system could really use a lot of work. But the fact that there was people like Mama Easy who made these kids feel like they had home, made them feel like you gotta pull yourself together. You're smart, you're good, you're kind, type of thing. Like I feel like that's good, because like being a child to all of a sudden lose the one thing that you've known since birth, which is your mother or your father, and all of a sudden lose that, that's gotta be tragic. I couldn't imagine losing my parents at the age of 28 now that I am. Nevertheless, to lose my parents at such a young age because all of a sudden they didn't know how to treat me, or sadly they were going through some tough times and they couldn't keep me, that kind of stuff, like it's so heartbreaking. But like I said, I'm glad there's people like her who are out there who actually do care for these children. And if God ever permits it for me in my life, it's something that I would want to maybe one day do. But I don't know. I don't know if it's in our plans. I don't know if it's possible for us. But it is something that I have always considered. It's like adoption or fostering, that kind of stuff, just because I feel like there's so many kids without happy homes that I would always feel like I want to give them that little bit of peace, give them that little bit of hope that not all parents out there are trash, or like not everything out there is evil humans. If they went through a tough time, if they didn't go through a tough time, then maybe it was just the fact that they couldn't take care of them, but show them that, hey, sometimes life is hard, but we are all pushing through it, and it'll get better, right? So be that little light of hope for them. I think it's a big part. We gotta stick up for our children. I say this all the time in this podcast. It's like we gotta do better for them. I will always stand very tall on that. Just because of the childhood I've had. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my parents, but I mean, I think we all at some point made changes, and I'm glad that I am where I am today. But it's a tough childhood for sure. I always want to be that like safe haven for some kid who needs it, So let me know what you guys thought of this story. I thought it was a good one to end the note on, to say that, hey, there's still some good foster parents out there. There's still some light out in the world, that people are still doing good stuff. So that's always good. And to end the week on a good note, or start the week on a good note. Like always, or at least I try to give y'all a good story to start the week on. But I hope y'all enjoyed it. We need a nap, you guys. But I hope y'all enjoy the stories. And I hope y'all come back again next week. And I think that's it for it, you guys. As y'all know, like, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, we have the social medias, but guys, I'll be honest, I just can't get to it. Again, I could. I'm just lazy. I think it's a big part. But at least for Spotify and YouTube, we'll always be there. And we'll see how I roll this year. And I think that's it. That's it for today. Y'all have a good week. I hope it's a good one. And not a bad one. But I hope it's a good one. And I hope that y'all have a great time. That's it. That's all I got. Be careful, take care, and I will see y'all again next week.